Hey, so I'm trying something new. Sometimes you see people who do these little videos and they call them, this is what I know. Well, I'm not going to say what I know because I sometimes think I don't know anything. Instead, I'm going to say what I think. And I'm going to pick a different topic probably every week. Maybe I'll post it on Tuesdays or Mondays. I don't know. This is my first time. So I got to figure that out. But what I thought I would talk about tonight is that phrase, dark night of the soul. I'm sure you've heard people use it. People use it kind of, it's become a little more like a common part of language. People use it to describe when they're depressed or when something kind of bumpy happened in their life. And there's actually a lot of really rich history behind this phrase. And it is open to interpretation because there's even the place it originated from, which was by Saint John of the Cross, who I believe was in Spain. He created this term and wrote a poem about it when he was kind of locked in isolation. And that kind of moment that Saint John of the Cross was in was the inspiration for the idea of dark night of the soul. And when I say there's lots of interpretations, it means that there's a whole other angle to this idea that I just learned. And it never occurred to me that this is what it could mean. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And I'm also going to talk about what it means like colloquially, like out in the world when people say it kind of day in, day out. So first of all, dark night of the soul. The reason I came up with it is because one, I just learned about this new perspective yesterday. And two, a friend of mine, I actually have had a couple of friends who've used this phrase lately. And one friend is talking about being in a really dark place of kind of coming to realization about things that are new in her life, things she has to let go of in order to move on. That is a real kind of typical way people use the phrase dark night of the soul. This concept, by the way, is present in a lot of different religions. So in that way, dark night of the soul is when, I guess it's like an existential crisis where it could be an existential crisis. It could also just be a psychological mental health crisis. But it can mean like that you're lost, you feel hopeless, you don't know what's next, you can't see the forest for the trees, and you're really struggling. And sometimes that's a symbol of coming out of one phase of life and moving into another phase. Like, say you've always known life to be one way, and then you experience an event that sheds light on what you've always believed, and you have no choice but to shift it. That can be really hard and really painful. And it's like living in your shadow self for a while, because you're confronting so much. That's one way to look at it. Another way is that God, or this is really this part is like a God thing. I am not really religious. I am spiritual, but I'm not really religious. However, sometimes I do use the word God to explain what, I guess, to describe what is basically a universal concept of a higher power. But some people say universe or source, whatever you choose, substitute whatever you want. In this case, I'm using God because it is directly related to the original definition. So some people see dark night of the soul as losing connection with God. So there is this story where Mother Teresa traveled on a train to I don't know, somewhere. I can't remember. See, I don't know anything. So she traveled on this train and had this like moment of real communication with God. They call it locution, which is when she actually heard, I believe, Jesus's voice, who said to her that she had to go serve the poor, to give up everything and go serve the poor. And this was almost this moment of ecstasy, this actual communion with God or Jesus, and feeling like you were being called to do something, and you had this spiritual, bond. And after that moment, she spent the rest of her life feeling a loss, because that spiritual connection with God was gone after that moment was over. And so she felt like the rest of her life she was searching or striving or wishing for that spiritual connection again. That is one way that people have described dark night of the soul, this lack of spiritual connection. St. John of the Cross described it as going dark, meaning like closing your eyes, sometimes literally just closing your eyes. When you close your eyes, your senses suddenly, they may become heightened, but you're also naturally turned inward a little bit. And the idea of closing your eyes and turning inward, or removing your senses, removing your thoughts. I shouldn't say removing them, but just not even acknowledging them, not feeling them, not knowing they're happening. In other words, living inside in a state of pure quiet, pure peace. No senses to distract you, no thoughts to pull you away, just in this deep state. That state is when you're closest to God. That state also symbolizes letting go of all worldly goods or worldly attachments, the attachments of your heart and mind. And that state is kind of what St. John of the Cross described, that when you, the reason it kind of parallels to the modern day understanding of it is because when you are not able to get into that state, you're not close with God. And so God will take something away in your life to kind of force you to let go of what I'm calling attachment. Attachment is a similar concept in Buddhism and Hinduism, where you have to let go of your earthly attachments because they have no spiritual value. And to let go of those earthly attachments means to develop a greater spiritual connection with the universe, source, God. So you see, there's similar ideas. So when you're in the dark night of the soul, from this perspective I'm talking about, you are actually experiencing a true connection with God. You're actually shutting off your senses and your thoughts and just being. And just being is your true self. Is that too obtuse? Is it too I'm not obtuse, that's not the right word. Too opaque, like as clear as fog? If it is, that's on me. But it is a complicated concept. If you dig and dig and dig, you'll find a lot of information and a lot of interpretations. But know this, dark night of the soul, no matter how you look at it, is a life-changing experience. It is either a moment, if we're looking at it from a psychological perspective, where you shift from who you are then to who you are now. And from a spiritual perspective, it's where you shift from being a kind of a human being grounded to earth and all earthly things, including pleasures and desires and pain. Those are all the earthly things. You shift from that to being to letting go of all that and being one with the universe, God, your soul. Your soul then becomes actually connected. So I would love to hear your thoughts. It's kind of, well, we'll just see. Okay, I'll be back next week. Who knows what I'm going to talk about? We'll see. It's probably not going to be like religious or spiritual like this. God knows why I'm starting with this. It's like the biggest thing to start with. I kind of wanted to talk about light and easy stuff, but here I am dropping this existential question on you. But anyway, thanks. Have a good one. Bye.